Raymond Walker.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a retired journalist.
Okay, and what does a day in the life look like for you now that you're retired?
Man, it looks pretty good. I'm enjoying life.
Yeah. And how did it look before when you were working?
Well, it looked good then. I enjoyed my life. I enjoyed my job. I got to do lots of interesting things and meet interesting people. So,
Yeah. What kind of journalism did you do?
I was a editor for a newspaper.
What steps did you take to get that job? Like, what did you study?
Yeah, I studied. I got a journalism diploma and then an English lit degree.
Okay, I see. And what qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a good journalist?
Well, you have to be thick-skinned and you have to be able to ask the tough questions. You have to be able to see the tough questions. And
How much do you make?
well, now probably about 40,000 with the freelancing and my pension.
Now that you're retired?
Yeah.
And how much did you make when you were still working?
No, it depends where I was working. At the end of my career, probably about 60, 70,000.
And how many years of experience did you have then?
I was an editor for about in the journalism for about 30 years.
Okay. And what was your favorite thing about being a journalist?
Oh, meeting people. I met prime ministers. I met Princess Diana.
That's crazy. That's very cool.
I saw a lot of interesting things, and I saw a lot of things that weren't so interesting, that were horrific. But
Luke,
And what do you do for a living, Luke?
personal trainer.
And what's a day in the life look like as a personal trainer?
It's kind of all over the place. Morning clients, afternoon clients, kind of all over the place. I do most of it online though. So
How did you get into being a personal trainer?
just working out, playing sports my whole life, and then yeah,
Did you study or have any formal education? Or you
yeah. I
just-
went to college back in Ontario.
And What did you study?
Fitness and health promotion.
Okay. How much do you make?
Like 55 a year.
And what qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a personal trainer?
Definitely schooling, like know what you're doing before you just start doing it, kind of thing. Yeah, be in the gym yourself and kind of like do what you preach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think someone needs to be fit to be a personal trainer?
Not necessarily, no. No. It definitely helps, I think, get clients and stuff like that. But other than that, no. If you're knowledgeable, then I think you're good to go.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Just seeing, like, helping people's lives change, helping them get fit, healthier, stuff like that kind of thing. Yeah.
All right, so I'm here with...
Julia.
And what do you do for a living, Julia?
I'm a bartender.
What do you do at work? You just serve drinks?
Rum and Cokes all day, every day.
How much do you make as a bartender?
That depends, but like on a good night, could range anywhere from 4 to 8 or 9.
If you were to average that annually, what would it be?
Oof, I'm not sure annually because some nights are much better than other nights. Yeah, it would just hit like 500 across the board.
So 500 a night.
A night, yeah.
And what qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a really good bartender?
Personable, attention to detail, like you have to be able to chat to your guests, but like be really on point and like thriving in chaos. So ADHD people, that's your calling.
And what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Actually, all the connections I get to make and all the different people I get to meet, it's completely networking. So that's the...
What's your favorite drink?
Oh, probably Caesar.
Here with
Naveed.
And what do you do for a living, Naveed?
I'm a software engineer.
What does a day in the life look like as a software engineer?
A lot of sitting at your desk, coding, some meeting, design documents.
And how did you get into this?
First thing I did was I took a high school class for computer science, showed some interest in that, so I studied computer science for undergrad, and then from there, internships led to the full-time job I have now.
And how much do you make at your full-time job?
Accounting for everything, it's around the 200K ballpark.
And that's including bonuses, stocks, all that?
Yeah, exactly. A mix of like base salary, stocks, bonuses, and other benefits.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a really good software engineer?
The ability to focus for sustained amounts of times and the ability to disregard other parts of a job that you may enjoy. For example, physical movements or socializing, which I think software engineering probably lacks.
What's your favorite thing about your job?
The ability to just start from zero and have something as a result of all your work at the end. You're not necessarily building something that somebody else made or working on a bigger system. You can really do everything from scratch yourself.
All right, so I'm here with...
Julia.
And what do you do for a living, Julia?
I'm a server at Cactus Club.
And what does a day in the life look like as a server?
It's pretty hectic. You're working long hours and you're running around for like 8 hours a day. Yeah, just talking to people, making conversation.
It sounds busy. How did you get into it? Like what made you decide to be a server?
Tips are good. Yeah, so tips mainly.
Fair enough. And how much do you make, speaking of tips?
On a good day, probably like $300.
Okay.
But
Just in tips or total?
just in tips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not including like the how much I make hourly, but yeah.
So how much would you say a year if you were to give a number?
Guesstimate probably like 30-40K.
Okay.
Yeah.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a good server?
Definitely be good at talking to people.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good one.
you know, you gotta be good at conversation, be funny, be personable.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty much it.
Would you say you're that?
Definitely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
And what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Meeting new people, yeah, especially at my location because we get a lot of tourists. So you're meeting a lot of people from around the world, so it's pretty cool.
All right, so I'm here with
Cruz.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a sous chef at Fanny Bay Oyster Bar.
What does a day in the life look like?
Pretty much just make sure everything's ready, dinner service goes smoothly.
What steps did you take to get to this role?
I didn't study, I actually started off as a dishwasher and I moved my way up. Family and I, we owned our own restaurant and I kind of got a little experience there.
It's very impressive. How much are you making right now as a sous chef?
I'm making about 50 to 60,000.
And what qualities do you think someone needs to have?
Organization and being able to manage a team. If you're doing well, that means your team's going to do well, vice versa.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
I love to cook for other people, get them to experience something that, you know, maybe they haven't had before, right? It's nice to see people enjoy food that you've created.
What's your favorite cuisine?
That's a tough one. I have a Latin Arab background, so I kind of got like the Middle Eastern Latin food. The French cuisine has really like shown me a lot of the basics and everything and what you can do. So I cannot pick one.
That's the go-to for all chefs, the French one. All right, so I'm here with
Ajay.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a medical student at UBC.
What does a day in the life look like?
Pretty much study all day, grabbing a Starbucks, go back and study at home.
What did you do in your undergrad and what was your GPA?
It was like in the high 80s, 90s. I did undergrad at McMaster. A lot of research. I worked for a couple of years and then eventually got in.
What did you score on the MCAT?
I don't remember the exact score, but it was like the 85th, 90th percentile.
You did really well.
Decent enough to get it. Yeah.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a good doctor?
I think just being able to connect with people. You're meeting so many different people across the world. That way you can gain their trust. You know, they can take your word for whatever you suggest to them.
I know you're still a student, but how much are you making or how are you sustaining life right now?
Nothing right now. Just relying everything on OSAP, money that I saved up.
And what's your favorite thing about being in med school right now and just being a future doctor?
Tough question. The experiences that we're learning is what I enjoy so far.
What's your plan after you're done med school?
I haven't thought about it yet, so a few options, one of them being like family medicine or like surgery.
If you were to give one piece of advice for someone that wants to be a doctor and wants to get into med school, what would you tell them?
It took me 5 cycles to get in, so be persistent, don't give up on your dreams.
Alright, so I'm here with...
I'm here.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a game designer.
What does a day in the life look like?
Creating the rules of how things work in the game. If it was, let's say, Mario, I'd be deciding step on the Goomba to kill them or like jump on the turtles, make them slide. Working with the artists and the developers to like sort of bring it all together.
So what steps did you take to get into this job? Do you have any formal education?
Honestly, my degree is in game design, but you really don't need it. It really just runs on skilled at being creative, good with computer science, stuff like that. So,
And how much do you make?
let's just say upwards of 80K, getting over 100 now.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a great video game designer?
You want to be creative. You obviously definitely want to love playing games. Coding is always useful. Learning C#, C++, Unreal, Unity, all the engines. Animation, lots and lots of that.
And what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Create the kind of worlds that I'd love to explore myself. So it's absolutely fun.
Alright, so I'm here with...
Christopher
And
Poroznik.
what do you do for a living?
I own a software company.
What does your software company do?
Pretty much we act as your IT department. We get you from starting stages all the way to profitable.
How did you get into this?
Started as a freelance contractor, used some publicity and got some higher level clients, and it just expanded from that point on.
And how much do you make?
Over 200,000 a year.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
You got to give up on a lot, and you got to put all your focus into it. 100% dedication.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Being my own boss.
What's your favorite programming language?
There's a language called Assembly Script. It's like a version of TypeScript, but it compiles to WebAssembly. I really enjoy it.
Alright, so I'm here with...
Paul.
What do you do for a living?
I work at Amazon.
What do you do at Amazon?
Reliability maintenance engineer.
What does a day in the life look like?
I work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, dealing with equipment issues.
How did you get into this?
Mechanical engineer, and also I did computer science.
How much do you make?
117, and there's like profit sharing, which is like random. It could be like another 5%.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
You have to be curious. You can't just be narrow-minded and then always willing to learn and adapt.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Probably the troubleshooting aspect. Could be a different issue every single day. I like working under that pressure and then also coming up with the solutions.
I'm here with...
Ryan Tolentino.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a 3D artist.
What's a day in the life look like?
Just wake up, work on some 3D stuff, rest after, work on characters and stuff.
How did you get into that?
Back in high school, we had this subject called 3D animation. Started falling in love with it, and then realized I love 3D.
How much do you make as a 3D artist?
65K a year.
And what qualities do you think someone needs to have?
Probably like passionate about art and being friendly. If people like you, people will gravitate around you.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Just creating art every day. It's the easiest thing ever. Just making art.
I'm here with
Matt Mort.
What do you do for a living, Matt?
I edit YouTube videos.
What's a day in the life look like?
It's a lot of behind the computer, chatting with the team, finding music, pacing processing, figuring out the flow, story.
How did you get into this?
I've been doing YouTube since 2008. Couldn't figure out how to do it full time for myself. Started meeting other creators and started editing full time.
Do you have any formal education?
I went to film school, but I feel like I learned more on the job than I actually did in school.
And how much do you make?
Around like $5,000 a month.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
It's all in the feel and the psychology, and empathy is a strong quality to have, and a love for music, because a lot of people will just put like lo-fi music in their videos. You don't feel anything with that. You need something that like really sparks.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
That it can make anybody's passion their job. Whatever somebody's into and loves the most, that can be like their thing for life.
So I'm here with
Esther.
What do you do for a living, Esther?
I'm an architect.
What's a day in the life look like as an architect?
I have a flexible schedule and I design hospitals, so it's really nice.
How did you get into this?
Since I'm like 4 years old, I wanted to be an architect.
How much do you make?
75.
What's your favorite thing about being an architect?
Drawing, designing new ideas, projects that then has an influence in the society.
So I'm here with
Wendy.
What do you do for a living?
Tech and accessibilities. I run a startup. We sell clothes for people who live with disabilities.
What does a day in the life look like?
Meeting people, collaborating with people, running into celebrities like Canadian Income. I was like fangirling, going like, I know you.
How much do you make?
At least 6 figures.
What steps did you take?
So I went to fashion school. I worked for a ton of different fashion brands. I started to dabble into e-commerce, and then I actually had family members that lived with a disability. I discovered adaptive fashion, and I'm like, this is genius. More people need to know about it.
What's your favorite thing?
The reviews we get. We have over 100 5-star reviews, families and people who live with disabilities, and every single time I read them makes my day. So that's really my favorite thing.
So I'm here with
Talisa.
And what do you do for a living?
I work at a tea shop.
And what's a day in the life look like working at a tea shop?
It's an early start. I come here listening to my music. It's pretty chill. I like it.
And how did you get into this?
I like tea, but my sister got the job for me.
How much do you make?
Per month, like 14.
What's your favorite thing about working at a tea shop?
I like talking to people and making tea for myself. Yeah, it's pretty good.
So I'm here with
Brayden.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a crane operator.
What does a day in the life look like?
I'm up early in the morning, work about 9-10 hour days, building high rises around Vancouver.
How did you get into this?
Kind of fell into it when I was in my early 20s, took the opportunity and never looked back.
Do you have any formal education? Is it required for this kind of job?
I wouldn't say required, but you can definitely pursue post-education if you want. Post-secondary, I chose the apprentice journeyman challenging route personally, but that was my path.
How much do you make?
Over 100,000 a year.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
Patience, no fear of heights, and works well with others. Very organized. A lot of people's lives are on the line when you're working above them.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
The views around Vancouver, no question.
So I'm here with
John.
What do you do for a living, John?
I am a recruitment specialist.
What does a day in the life look like?
Work to help find job positions here in Canada.
How did you get into this?
I made a transition from sales and counseling background to recruitment.
Do you have any formal education?
Well, I don't have any formal education in human resources, I should say. I do have a clinical counseling background. Incredibly useful.
How much do you make?
Between 50 to 65K.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
Honesty, integrity, very strong time management skills, a good sense of empathy.
And what's your favorite thing about what you do?
Making sure that these folks have good jobs here in Canada. That's the end of the day. That's the most important thing.
So I'm here with
Scott Anderson.
What do you do for a living, Scott?
I work for BC Hydro.
What does a day in the life look like?
Building power lines on my crew. All types of hardware. Ripping it out, repairing it, and installing it.
What's your job title? Like, what is it you specifically do?
Driver helper turned machine operator.
How did you get into this industry?
Just years and years of hard work that I found through Craigslist, and then just applying time and effort into attaining certifications.
How much do you make?
Around 100.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
The guys I work with, the times we share, doing high level work, and just being part of a team.
So I'm here with
Kevin.
What do you do for a living?
Work as a research associate at the Cullis Lab.
What does a day in the life look like?
Go to the lab, set up some experiments. Right now I'm looking at like protein adhesions, so I'll put them in a serum and then I'll run some tests, see what proteins are binding to them.
How did you get into this?
For school, I wanted to get into genetic medicine.
How much do you make doing this?
So I make about 80K.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
You gotta be like really gentle with it, like really careful, really patient.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Just the potential of it all. Like I see this as like the next frontier in medicine. Because right now you think we have like small molecule drugs, we have like antibodies, and we can target maybe like 40-50% of the genome that way. But with genetic medicines, we're targeting like all of DNA. Like we can access 100% of the genome. So it's just like expanding like our pharmaceutical reach. And I think that's so cool.
So I'm here with
Dylan.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a software engineer.
What's a day in the life look like?
I work from home most of the
time, I go in about 3 times a week. I wake up, drive to work, have one meeting per day, and the rest of the time I code.
How did you get into doing software?
In high school, I like to code, and then I decided to pursue it in college and then pursue it as a career.
How much do you make?
I make about 180K.
With stocks, bonuses, and everything?
Yes.
What kind of engineering do you do?
Data. I'm a big data analyst.
What's your favorite programming language?
I usually work in Python, but I've been learning C#.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
I really like to see how information flows. It's really interesting to me.
So I'm here with
Valentine.
What do you do for a living?
Communication officer for organization that manage all the French schools in BC if they need some pictures or many things about communication.
How did you get into this?
So I came from France. I just applied for this job and they hired me straight. I have a master's degree in communication in France.
How much do you make doing this?
75,000.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
It's so useful working with children and for education. It's necessary for me to working with a purpose.
You have like an impact kind of.
Yeah, exactly, an impact, exactly.
And what do you do for a living, Wyatt?
I work in construction management.
What does a day in the life look like?
Managing people, ensuring that deadlines are met and budgets are kept in line.
How did you get into this industry?
Literally was in marketing, didn't like it at all. Started working at a random company, then kind of worked my way into the construction field, and here we are.
How much do you make?
I make 80K.
What qualities do you think someone needs to have?
I think being highly organized, clear communication.
What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Fortunate that I work in a fantastic office. My boss is like a mentor. He's like a BCIT professor. No matter where you start, should be someone there to kind of guide you in the right direction, show you the path. From there, innovation can bloom.
All right, so I'm here with
Jason.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a personal trainer.
And what's a day in the life look like as a personal trainer?
Just a lot of socializing and talking usually for the most part. It's a lot of bettering, I guess, people's lives overall a little bit, yeah.
Do you think a personal trainer needs to be fit?
I think to some degree, yes, but I think the most important thing is knowledge overall, though.
How much do you make as a personal trainer?
30 to 40K a year.
And what qualities do you think someone needs to have to be a really good personal trainer?
I think you just need to be super likable. Yeah, mainly, yeah. I think if you're super likable, you'll attract more people and attract more clients overall.
That's a good answer. What's your favorite thing about what you do?
Seeing improvements in people's overall physique or overall conditions. Because a lot of people come in and they tell me about knee injuries or whatever and how they can't walk as well. But then after a few sessions with me, they're able to walk without assistance or anything like that. Yeah.
So just helping people.
Just helping people, yeah.